Welcome back to Alchemical Serenity, the podcast that takes you on a journey along the path, through the woods, across the fields and moors, down to the beach, where we can sit around the campfire and talk about the path you were born to lead in a witchy, spiritual and druidy way. It's that time again for another festival. Now this one takes place on the 1st of August, but as with all other festivals, it begins at sundown the night before. It marks the beginning of the noticeable descent of the sun towards winter. It's a cross-quarter day, so it falls in between the equinox dates of the summer solstice and the autumn equinox. This one is Lughnasadh, or Lammas. Lammas is the old word for loaf-mass day, and its roots are Anglo-Saxon Christian. It's about baking bread with the first harvest of wheat that came in from the fields, and a mass and prayers were said. Lughnasadh, on the other hand, comes from the word Lugh, an Irish, Scottish and Gaelic god, and Nasa, which means assembly. In Irish mythology, Lugh created Lughnasadh as a funeral feast and athletic competition in honour of his foster mother, who was called Talchu. She died of exhaustion after clearing the plains of Ireland in preparation for farming. Lughnasadh is part of the path that I follow because of my Scottish ancestry. Lughnasadh marks the beginning of the harvest festival. Many Green Man festivals take place at this time, and the Green Man takes on another form of John Barleycorn, both representing the sacrifice made in order for human life on earth to continue. Songs existed in Elizabethan times, and even Robbie Burns wrote a song about John Barleycorn and the cycle of nature, planting seeds, growing, harvesting, and death. It is also the celebration of the sun god and Mother Earth who came together at Beltane. I often imagine my crofting and agricultural ancestors both in Scotland and northern England at this time, and how hard it must have been to work the land pre-mechanisation. I've learned that seining of cattle took place by the old women to keep evil away for the following months, so all the harvest was safely gathered in. I even read that their udders were sung to ensure the cows kept the milk flowing. I'm wondering, maybe this happened whilst they were hand milking. Special songs and words were just sung to the cow. I mean, it sounds quite idyllic and very romantic, but I'm sure it wasn't. Horses and cattle were also taken for a swim in the sea if they were close enough, as another form of seining or blessing. They were calling the goddess of the Earth Mother, or as she is better known to us as the Cailleach. A corn dole was made from the very first field to be harvested, and it was passed from field to field and farmer to farmer until it arrived at the very last field, and that farmer would have to take the corn dole and keep it safe in his home until spring, when it would be ploughed back into the land at Imbolc as a blessing towards the coming harvest, thus completing the cycle. There are many, many other traditions that took place in different parts of the British Isles with corn doles and other forms of blessings for agriculture. And of course, in these modern times, many children have harvest festivals in September or October. My daughter was in a small village Church of England school, and they held a festival each year. Unlike the Christian harvest festivals, Lughnasadh is one of three. The second is the 21st of September, the autumn equinox, and the final harvest festival is the 31st of October, or around the 1st of November, which we also call Samhain or Halloween. But we're going to come to those in due course as we continue our walk around the wheel of the year. In Ireland, towns still celebrate and hold festivals featuring dancing, music, stories, and arts and crafts, very much like our summer county shows, which now seem to take place a lot earlier. We also used to hold a village carnival at the same time of the year. We had village fetes and also the obligatory village jumble sale, where you would pop along to take your unwanted items and come home with somebody else's. And also in my case, no wins ever on the tombola. Lughnasadh does remind us that our ancestors were linked to the land and the wheel of the year as their natural way of life. Later in history, the quarter dates became the divisions of the legal year, where contracts and leases would begin and end. Servants were hired and dismissed, rents and loans, etc. would all be due for payment. We can also look back at this time from a philosophical point of view. And if you remember at Beltane, we welcomed in the gods and goddesses of fertility and youth. Young people were dancing and meeting. And if you remember, a couple of lines were, "For we have been in the woods at night, a conjuring summer in." Now this is the time of looking at our accomplishments. Beltane was only 13 weeks ago, so if couples were a conjuring summer in, perhaps there is some good news. It is also the time of looking at our personal achievements over the last few weeks. Have we accomplished any goals? Did we take time to reflect on anything you wanted to achieve? We rush through our lives at great speed and never really reflect on anything until it's too late. Use this time to reflect on family accomplishments, and you can work your personal goals out and achievements and journal your thoughts on this. On Lammas Day in 1940, witches gathered in the New Forest to raise a cone of power to prevent Hitler's troops invading England. This assembly included Gerald Gardner and old Dorothy Clutterbuck and several other renowned witches. Traditionally, this time is also celebrated by taking a walk up a spiral path on both Silbury Hill and Glastonbury Tor. If you want any more folklore or old traditions, there's plenty of websites to find that information. If, however, you're like me and you're looking for more in the now, here are some ideas that might work for you. These are going to be the correspondences, so these are the ones that we have for altar work or energy work, intention setting, prayers, etc. So colours would be yellow, orange, gold and green, which reflect really the sunflower. Foods are grains, soft fruits, corn, bread, berries. Crystals are citrine, carnelian, topaz, amber and clear quartz. Symbols are sunflowers, corn dollies, wheat, bread, tools for threshing. Oh, just be careful what you do with your scythe. Don't carry it if you're wearing a black robe. Well, not at least till Samhain. Flowers are sunflowers, roses, echinacea, cosmos, chamomile and calendula. Herbs for incense, if you'd like to make your own, would be basil, mint, rosemary, mugwort, thyme. You can dry all these perfectly to make your own little incenses to put on the little discs. Deities, obviously Lu. We have Keres, Vesta, Dana, all Mother Goddess figures as well, and sacred space. Use any of the above, especially corn dollies. If you like to make your own, remember you must keep your corn dolly safe in your home until the spring, and then thank her for all she has done and bury her in your garden. You may even find you grow your own wheat. I seem to have a lot of wheat at the moment from birdseed again this year. What can we do at this time? Okay, guess what? We get to have another bonfire. Yay! Everybody needs another bonfire in August, don't we? Of course, you don't need to light another bonfire. If you don't want to have a bonfire, if you don't have a place to have a bonfire, just light a candle on your altar, and that's all you need to do. In fact, you don't even need to do that. You don't need to do anything. But that's just one idea, because we've got such a nice time of the year that if we have got the ability to go and sit outside and have a fire pit, that's perfect. You could also use that fire pit to invite friends around at any time throughout August and have a barbecue. The energies last for a few weeks on sort of any time really from the weekend of or around the 2 or 3 days before, which roughly work out, don't they? The weekend before the first, right through for 2 to 3 weeks. So that takes us almost up to the bank holiday at the end of August, which is a perfect time for a barbecue, is it not? It's the time we can send the men out to traditionally honour the gods by burning food while standing under an umbrella in our typical British bank holiday weekend weather of rain. If it's raining, then bake some bread. Who knew that was coming? What else could you do than bake bread at Lughnasadh when that's the harvest time? If you wish to go out and bake some bread properly or by hand, or perhaps you've got a bread maker, then don't forget to pop a small piece of that baked bread on your altar. Did you sow anything in spring? If you did, then maybe you might be seeing the early fruits of your labours. Perhaps there's some strawberries, raspberries, tomatoes maybe. I was late this year with my tomatoes, so it could be the end of the month before they're ready. But we've also eaten most of the strawberries and the raspberries. Change your altar or sacred space to reflect the time. Perhaps put some flowers on, crystals, piece of the baked bread, place on the altar as well. Anything that makes you feel connected to the time of the first harvest. You could make your own corn dolly if you've got access to staves of dried wheat. You might be able to buy them online, I don't know. But whatever you do, don't attempt to forage them from fields. Not only is this illegal in the UK, you're breaking two laws. Not only it's trespass and theft, because obviously the point being is that anything that is foraged naturally, on, if you like, as you're perhaps walking down a path, if it's not in a farmer's field, then okay, you've got access to forage. But if you've got to go into a farmer's field and go, oh right, I'm going to nick some of the some of those staves, he won't notice. That's theft. And if you want to live with that energy of theft as you're making something, then you're really not on the right path, to be fair. There are many different ways you can make corn dollies, and lots of them are on YouTube. I've never made one. I have to admit I've cheated and I've bought one because I'm not very good at twisting and turning all the staves of wheat together. Floral displays are another good one. Sunflowers in vases and any other flowers that are in bloom. Of course, these don't have to be fresh. They can be silk flowers. I use silk on my altar as well as the fresh ones. I've got allergies, so sometimes the flowers that are really quite strong and pungent at this time of the year, they and me do not get on. Try an outdoor meditation. If you can find a quiet spot to just sit and connect with nature, shoes off, feet flat on the floor, nothing in between the sole of your feet and the ground, preferably if you've got a patch of grass that you can sit on. That is absolutely perfect. Perform candle magic if you like to do spellcraft. Call upon the spirit of Lu to bring about a great harvest in your community, state, or country. Wherever you are living, I'm sure the farmers could do with a bit of extra help. I watch in the UK a programme called Countryfile, and I think it was last year. I remember seeing one of the pieces, they were talking about having the optimum time to harvest grain. So what they would do is they had to use a meter and they had to test the dampness of the grain with that meter. And if it was at a certain point, they couldn't harvest it, or it was pointless harvesting it because it was going to be so damp that when it came into the grain stores, it wouldn't dry, it would just rot, and then we'd have no grain for that next season. Whether that was grain for cattle to eat, whether it was grain that goes in your bird seed, or whether it's grain that goes in your bread, we need the optimum time. And right now, in the UK, it doesn't seem to want to stop raining. So thank you, St. Swithin, for that one. Performing candle magic, if you like to do a little spell to help your farmers and to help your community to make sure that the harvest comes in successfully from now right through till Samhain. Make some homemade jam. That's another good one because we still have a glut of strawberries to see us through for the next month. I don't know whether you're like me. I can't stand strawberries that come in from Europe. Not only are they coming in with a carbon footprint, but also they come in and they're really quite sharp, and they're not fleshy in the middle. They're still raw. So make some jam. Try and preserve our fruits at this time of the year the best we can. Create a homemade tea. Grab your favourite tea blend, whether that's a tea bag like me, or whether you are a loose tea person. Add some mint, chamomile and rose hips, and using some dried ingredients like these in equal parts, pour over some just off the boil water and cover for 5 to 7 minutes. Just let them steep and then strain, and if you can squeeze out any excess liquid into your cup, add a teaspoon of honey if desired, and when cool enough, drink at your leisure. If you have children or grandchildren and you can get to a beach, then why not visit and do something different, like making sand art, or something I saw on Twinkle, which I thought was fantastic, was to create a large rectangle and place your beach towel or blanket, whatever you sit on the beach, in the centre. Around the outside, decorate the whole of the outside with shells and pebbles and perhaps some footprints, patterns you could make with buckets, spades, whatever, so that it looked like a photo frame. And then get all the family to lie down in it and see if someone else whether that's, another member of your family that's with you, or even a passerby or somebody sitting next to you, to take a photograph of all of you sat on your beach mat within that photo frame. I mean, how different would that be to have your own framed photograph, but you've done it on the beach? Whoever thought of that idea, absolutely inspired. I thought it was brilliant. Simple things like that to do with your family are fantastic. Do you have a friend or family member who's a foster parent? This is the right time to honour all foster parents in the name of Lou's mother. She was his foster mother. I have a friend who's a foster parent, and she's wonderful at giving a place of security to young children. So this time of the year, it's great to honour a friend who is a foster parent in the name of Lou. Have you checked in with your birds lately? The feathered ones in the garden. I'm still feeding mine. More low-key than in winter, obviously, despite them queuing up in the garden or sitting on the roof waiting for me, which I'm pretty sure they do on every single property down this road. There is no way the pigeons in my garden only eat in my garden. I am surprised on the day it's rained they can even get off the floor. Collect seeds for any plants in the garden, dry them out. If anything's gone to seed, grab them ready for next year. Write a journal entry about Lughnasadh or Lammas and what that means to you. Is it something new? Are you going to be trying something different? Have you been celebrating it for many years? And what do you like to do? Because it'd be lovely to look back over it next year and go, aha, I did that last year. Oh, I haven't done that for a few years. Gratitude and abundance as well. This is a time of great abundance, obviously, because we're coming up on harvest. So take that time to look at your own abundance and prosperity. Is there something you need to work on, or are you happy with your path? Make plans for any intentions that you want to set in autumn. If there's anything you feel you need to work on, get ahead of yourself and start planning now. Use your journal to write your ideas down for what autumn is going to mean to you. August is also a month of two full moons. The first is on the first. Lughnasadh has a full moon, and that's going to bring in lots more positive energies. But there's also a second full moon called blue moon, because they don't happen that often, and that's falling on the 30th. So you've got two this month, which could bring in some really good energies if you use them at both ends of the month. If you've got anything that you want to work on, then have a think about it and start working on it now. If you need specific times, though, or for your locality, depending on where you're listening from, then check online, as there's plenty of almanacs giving dates and times, and just use this energy. And last but definitely not least, don't forget the Fae. Energies of the Fae are strong at this time, so leave an offering to them in your garden, perhaps some of the bread you've baked, with a small offering prayer, just to ensure your home life and family flourish. And of course, the most important thing is to ensure that the Fae protect your cattle and that they produce milk and your land grows grain. Joking aside, never forget the Fae, because they will never forget you. And really, just celebrate. It's a time of abundance in the garden. Make food, eat the food, make drinks, drink the drinks, have a party, enjoy the last of the summer sun, because the next harvest festival is the autumn equinox, when it will be very much darker in the evenings as we head towards winter. Before we go, I thought I would do a card pull for the festival. The last one I did was in Beltane. In fact, it was the first one I ever did. And so this is only going to be the second one. I'm not a big tarot reader for other people. I prefer to suggest to people that they learn how to work with tarot cards themselves. I once went for a tarot card reading. This was 30 years ago, maybe a bit more, and he was a complete charlatan. I have never heard such bull in my life. It was amazing. Maybe one day I'll talk about it, but it was rubbish. Anyway, I'm going to do a card pull, connect with some energies in a moment. Once I've done them, I'll come back and tell you exactly what came up. So I've just done the card pull. I'm using the Druid Craft Tarot again. I use them at Beltane. They're beautifully illustrated, and they're a card that works particularly well with my energy. I only use the major arcana for this because I can't shuffle so many cards now. I don't know if anybody else can. I can't shuffle a full deck of cards in my hand. So I like to work with the, if you like, the inner mysteries of the major arcana. So the first card that actually, this happened in two ways. I was shuffling away, nicely connected, working with energies, and one fell out. And I got my eyes closed and I thought, right, okay, that's fallen out on purpose. I'll put that to one side. I won't look at it until I'm ready. And then I shuffled my card and I decided to do the split the card in half, and whatever was left as the top of the bottom set of the split was the card I was going to use. And I always make that intention when I'm doing the shuffling. So I've done that. And the card that came out was the Hanged Man, which I thought was interesting. There's a picture of, it's a naked man basically hanging upside down in a tree. And there's lots of symbolism around this. And this is going to be a difficult card for me to put online because I'm going to have to cover up certain parts of this Hanged Man's anatomy, which would probably get me banned for life from anywhere like Facebook. However, the Hanged Man actually signifies a deepening of experience. So if any of you are out there at the moment and you've been perhaps working on something in particular and it's coming to fruition and, if you like, to harvest, the meaning of the card is peace, understanding, and patience. And it says finding this card in your reading may indicate that you are ready for an initiation, or that the seeds of inspiration are soon to be harvested in a period of successful creative activity. But first you are asked to be patient, for the Hanged Man signifies above all a time of waiting and of patience, and for when this is done consciously, the Arwen of inspiration can be distilled to the point when its 3 drops are ready to infuse you with their power. So basically, whatever you're waiting for, just hang in there a bit longer. Whatever work you've been doing or anything you're expecting to happen is going to happen, but it might just take a little bit longer to come around. That's only the basics, so I'm not going to go into this too deeply, but it's now saying the message of the Hanged Man is go deeper now and let go of your striving. True freedom and independence is found through surrender. So as the Hanged Man in my picture that I'm looking at is hanging upside down, can't go anywhere, can't do anything, might as well just give up any fight and just wait for something to happen. And I think, you know, I'm very much, I'm not so much now, I think, but I have had to learn myself to be a little bit more patient. And when I want something and I set an intention, instead of going, I want it now, I've sort of said, okay, I'd like it to happen soon, please. And I've become a lot more patient in waiting for things to happen. And then we come to the card that fell out while I was shuffling that I didn't look at. And this one is called the Feralt. The picture is of a lady inside a wooden hut with a cauldron, and she's working. And it's actually Brigid, the goddess of flame and the holy well. The significance of the Feralt is that they're more sort of druid, obviously, than witchcraft or the craft itself, but the meaning is harmony and successful creative endeavour. So that actually follows in nicely with if you're waiting for something to happen, it's going to be successful. And to find this card in a reading is extremely auspicious and may well indicate that you are entering a phase of successful creative endeavour. The period of waiting patiently, here we go. So that period of hanging around like the Hanged Man, for the Arwen of inspiration to distill as portrayed in the card of the Hanged Man is over. So these two cards are working together. So you may find that you are in a position to restore harmony among competing factions, but you may also find that merely centering yourself in a feeling of deep peace is all you need to do at this point. So those waters of inspiration are on their way. So whatever you've been doing, like the Hanged Man is saying, you've just got to hang around and wait. The Feralt is then saying, whatever you are hanging around and waiting for is going to come to completion. You're not going to be hanging around for long, and something good's going to happen. This card urges many different aspects of yourself to cease being separated or compartmentalized. And the message is allow inner and outer masculine and feminine to blend within you to give birth to your creative self. And Arwen, obviously, for us Druids, is the spark of creativity. So, but that's something one day I'll go into. So there we go. So as the hangman said, I'm hanging around, going to wait for something to happen. And as the herald has said, it's on its way. There we go. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful Lughnasadh or Lammas if you're celebrating it, and have a special harvest time for yourself, your family. And don't forget, this is about how you live your life. These are just my ideas, things that I've tried in the past over my many years of being on my path. You might do something totally different, something bigger, something better, something more creative that works beautifully for you. You may be on the path of discovery where you're thinking, oh, I don't know what to do. Well, this is so confusing. I've just see this on one website, this on YouTube, I could do this. And by the time you come to the first and to Lughnasadh, you just go, oh, I can't be bothered because it's just such hard work. Whatever you do it small. Start small if you're beginning, and just take your time. Write it in your journal what works for you. Just have a family meal, light a candle, and just do something simply. Don't forget, you can subscribe or follow depending on what platform you're listening on. And if you can, leave me a fantastic 5-star review. That would be wonderful. I will put this up onto YouTube. Sometimes I put additional bits on YouTube. If you want to pop along there and follow me, though perhaps a bit more, and I will try and put these pictures up of the tarot cards onto Patreon. And my Facebook page if you come and find me on Facebook. So obviously everything is under Alchemical Serenity on Facebook, on Instagram, and you can find all the links to Patreon, etc. on the podcast. Wherever you're listening to, I'll put them in the show notes. But thank you once again for listening in, and love, light, and peace to you for a blessed Lughnasadh. Enjoy your time, enjoy August, and there might be some more coming up this month, depending on how busy I am. It's the summer holidays. Let's see how things go. But apart from that, have an absolutely wonderful time, and blessed be.